was opening up the keyhole and just looking outside. I'm like, no.
So then you get into the whole industry of like adult film. Was it what you expected doing your first scene? So you had me doing moonsaults off the top rope.
Oh my God.
I have implants.
I feel like I know everything somewhere. Why?
Why not?
I mean, I thought about it for a long while before I did it. I mean, I got a lot of uproar from the whole industry, but who are they to judge me?
Yeah, I mean, what are they?
They can all go to hell. They don't pay my bills.
No, you got a point.
And that's that.
Welcome. Happy Monday, everyone. And thank you so much for joining me today for an episode of Off the Rails. Woof. Sorry about the small glitch earlier. Everybody knows if it's one thing I do not like, it's a glitch. Hey, John J. Hey, JT Havoc. I know Paul's in here somewhere. Happy Monday. Hey, Jamal. How are you? Whew. So today, I've decided to dedicate this Monday. Hi, Loera. How are you today? Maybe I should just wait till everyone hops on in here and says hi, because that's appropriate manners. Yeah. Hi, Christopher. How are you? Who else is in here that I'm missing? Okay. I think everyone will join after. But do not forget, if you're enjoying my podcast, please go ahead and just subscribe to me here on YouTube. Click like. Leave comments, anything you want. And every Wednesday or every other Wednesday, if you subscribe to my podcast, Krazy Train Podcast with Jasmin St. on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you listen to podcasts, that would be awesome. So today, I decided to try and have a small series called Porn Star Deaths. Some of them are deaths by natural causes, unnatural causes, suicides, and so forth. But I think it's something that the porn industry has been, has experienced in many decades. Back in the 90s, we had Savannah. Way before then, there was another girl, Linda Wong, who was actually the first Asian American porn performer. And I know that some people think, okay, yeah, well, it's probably all just drugs. Well, not necessarily. It could be anything. It could be depression. It could be personal issues. Could be money. Could be a crazy boyfriend. Could be any number of things. I mean, we don't find the business because we're normal people, if that makes any sense. We're sort of stuck in the subculture of humanity and the subculture that other people look down on. I don't know if any of you know this, but sometime last year, there was a home invasion of a girl who was in adult films. And I'm not sure if it was actually listed anywhere or they followed up on it, but they did make sure to put it out there that she was a porn star. She was an OnlyFans girl. Hey, Joshua, how are you? Just saying hi to everyone still. But I do remember the August Ames ones specifically. There's so many different contributing factors. I decided to invite my friend Christian Cipollini, who is the author of a book, Lucky Luciano. He's done a lot of research and other shows on A&E, specifically with mobsters and crimes. And we picked out about 10 different porn star deaths we actually wanted to look into. I remember when the whole August Ames thing went down, it was really sad. I also remember seeing vile behavior online from fellow performers. It doesn't surprise me because sometimes it brings out in the worst in people. Before we continue, let's go ahead and get a note from our sponsors. If you are low, and happy coffee day, everyone. If you're looking for the best of the best with black coffee, hop on over to supermassiveblackcoffee.com. That is supermassiveblackcoffee.com. Put in the code MBN for 20% off and kickstart your mornings to a powerful start. Yeah, so I'm just getting in here in the comments. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Some people know Christian. Hi, Ian. But I'll also be inviting Vic Legina onto the show later because he knew her 7 months prior to her death. Hi, Scott. How are you? I do know one thing with the business is that it could take it could really take its toll on you. So I had never really been around addictions until I got into that business. Personally, I never had an addiction of any type, except for collecting dead presidents. But I could see why some people would end up killing themselves. And a lot of you know that suicide plays it has a very special place in my heart, if that's the right way to word it, because I lost someone that was very close to me who killed himself. But then again, if I woke up next to what he was waking up to, I'd want to off myself too. But moving right along, I feel as though there's so many other issues. And JT Havoc has a really valid question. So how was it in the 90s versus now? Well, coming from an original Mean Girl, yeah, we were catty and shit, but we would say stuff to your face. Like, we're made from a different cloth. We could tolerate the bullying. We can tolerate the comments. We can tolerate this and that. I don't feel as though these days, a lot of the girls, like post 2005, really had the fabric to tolerate things, and especially abuse from other people you don't know. And maybe they're just more mentally frail for whatever reason. Maybe it's the way their parents raised them, or it's just a whole other generation where everything was offensive. But I think what really got to me, so I was never a Jessica Drake fan. I didn't like her while I was in the business. And I do know that prior to this poor girl killing herself, Jessica Drake made this horrible tweet. P.S. I've worked with crossover performers, gay performers, and trans performers. Well, good for you. If this puts me on your no list, I don't want to do scenes with you to begin with. End of stigma. So whatever happens to my body, my choice. If someone doesn't want to work with a trans person, an adult, it's totally up to them. It's their body. And these people are all about, oh, my body, my choice and everything. Well, no, it's not. When you're making people, feel bad about not wanting to work with a trans person or someone who has done gay porn, because then you're dealing with a whole other set of issues, such as AIDS or whatever other things could possibly come over onto a straight porn set. JD Havoc, yeah, who gives a fuck about Mia Khalifa? She's an anti-Semitic piece of shit, and I don't even know who Brie Olson is, but I sort of stopped following the business after I left the business because it just didn't seem that interesting to me, and these girls were a dime a dozen. And I think as though it's a tough thing, right? To be in this culture where people look down on you. And then supposedly what I heard was that August, this is what I heard like a few months ago, was having personal issues in her personal life. Now, I can understand that, because in that type of business, when you're trying to find a safe space at home with someone you're supposed to feel safe with, it's tough if that person isn't there. Like, you could be in a relationship or a marriage of some type and be alone. And it's a really depressing feeling. Like, I've been in a relationship once before where I felt so alone. You don't feel heard. It's a lot of stuff, and a lot of emotions and anger builds up. Let's go back to the chat till Christian joins us. Hey, Ben, how are you? Hey, Hellstrom, how are you? Yes, Eric, your body, your choice only works when it fits a narrative. Correct. That is correct. And, that's what it seems like. Even in porn, it's become so woke that you have to go online and bully someone. But I think, I don't think the bullying directly affected this poor young lady. I feel as though it could have been a bunch of other things. But sometimes all you need is, as they call it, a nail in the coffin. I'm hoping my guest hops on here super soon because he's on there he is. Wow. I hate it when my guests join me and they look better than I do. Like they're dressed up better, but I guess it's fine. Like I just have to get over it, man. I don't know. Yeah, seriously. Hi Christian, how are you?
Good. How are you? Actually, I was gonna kind of go shabby chic. I had like a t-shirt on, but I thought, I don't know, go with the color that shows up. Whatever.
I'm jealous because you always look great no matter what. So there are people on air who do know you. If some of you don't know him, this is my friend. He's an author, researcher, Christian Cipollone. He's specifically a mob researcher, crime and stuff like that. You could find him on his Twitter handles at Gangland Legend. He's on Instagram. He also did events at the Mobster Museum. I don't know if anyone's ever done that or been there, but I still have to go. How are you on this gorgeous Monday? Oh, it's hot.
Good. Yeah, it's muggy, cloudy here, but muggy. I guess it is down there too, or you have sun.
I got sun.
All right. Thanks, of course, for having me. Yeah, and for those of you like Paul, you better be here. Old Paul Corbin better be on here today so he can chime in. Okay. Yeah, anyway, thanks for having me. This is definitely a provocative topic we have today.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much to unpack. And I think a lot of it starts at home. I know that's something that you like to research things and go into these crazy deep dives. What's your take on it? I think it's emotional health is one thing, and these girls are not built the same as the girls from that 90s era. And like, I would not go online to bully someone. I would just say to their face.
I think you're onto something with the generational differences. There are every generation different. I don't think we're painting too broad of a stroke to say that. But also culturally, technology, everything's changed. And yeah, back in the 90s, the internet was there, but we didn't really have a ton of exposure to it or receive the bad stuff that comes with it. It's a blessing and a curse. And in this case, this one is interesting because it was probably the most discussed in the media, although I will argue that some others have argued there isn't much coverage of the 5 people in 3 months that died just during that period. So in that industry, and when they do, and I'll shut up in a second, when they do talk about it, they tend to, oh, it's that industry. Okay, I see, but my job in what I do as a historian is try to find the in between all the, good, evil. There's an in between that maybe we don't all know. So that's why this one was interesting to me.
Yeah, very beautiful. And I mean, I'm just going to pull something up here. So a lot of these girls do a lot during the business to their bodies. They get shunned for a lot of stuff. Like I never work with trans people or people that did gay porn. She didn't want to do it too, and that should be like where it's left. So then you have this other sicko with emotional issues. What was his name? I can't even see it. It was something Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson Wheeler.
I mean, telling someone to take a cyanide pill, like why the fuck should she apologize to you? Okay. You're like maybe 1% of the business. And, maybe you should go swallow the cyanide pill because that's a bold statement. Then you have this dote. P.S. I've worked with crossover performers, and my God, I hope you don't have anything. And, to end with the stigma, this girl was around in the late 90s, Jessica Drake. She was dating Evan Stone at one point. I hope to God he didn't do gay porn because I worked with him many times. But, it's just do you think that had any type of an influence in her killing herself or some sort of, that moment with the straw that breaks the camel's back?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think a lot of people are asking because this kind of thing happens across the spectrum in different industries, not just this one. There are other factors and nuanced things in every industry, including this one, that are unique to it that might have contributed. The online thing, I'm not going to go on and say, oh, the internet's just rotting our brain. It's horrible. It is, but it's also a glorious thing to some extent. I mean, I wouldn't have some of the success I have now if it was literally me walking down the street trying to meet people to network. It's just harder. But the vitriol, and that these people came out, I don't know, during a time when you could, because it was part of that culture war. Like, we've been in a culture war for 20, 30 years. It's just gotten worse. And I think, and I know we'll get into this, so I don't want to jump ahead, but the deeper issue is, if you entertain Twitter, Instagram, wherever, and you are in a weak state of mind, and I'm not a psychologist, full disclosure, but dealing with some of the people I do, there are influences. And I think if you're at a low spot and let that in, it might be, as you put it, the straw that broke the camel's back. But I don't think it was the entire straw. And I say that from doing my research on what other people research. Take out the tabloids, and we can get into that, the news versus what the tabloids said, and that kind of thing. And I know there's people on here, and you spoke to one that has some intimate knowledge. And by the way, please, everybody, tell us what you think, if you know something or whatever, or correct us. But I'm going to try to give Jasmin, everybody, just a perspective from somebody who didn't know her, but I like to dig a little deeper past the surface stuff. So, plus I want to understand. So,
yeah, it's really sad. And then I read something also about Marcus Dupree. Here we go. There was August, relationships, one key player. So much questioning. Okay, there's actor Marcus Dupree, who filmed an aggressive scene with Ames months prior to her death. Her brother believes this triggered traumatic childhood memories and sent her spiraling. August had sent a girlfriend photos of her bruises and a shocking account of the scene. However, she backed away from her claims when, when her husband contacted the production company in a rage. Well, rightfully so. I mean, it's his wife, so yeah, you should. And then there's this here. Yeah, I don't know about the crossover thing, but I want to look more into this Marcus Dupree thing. Now, when I say Marcus Dupree, I'm not talking about Marcus Dupree, the black football player who attacked me on TikTok and threatened to sue me because we were talking about it. It's Marcus Dupree. It's a white guy who had an STD. What are your thoughts on that? Because people, I can't define aggressive sex because I was doing hardcore scenes in the 90s. Getting choked, getting slapped, and all that great stuff. So I don't know what this girl meant by aggressive. And do you think that could really destroy someone internally?
Okay, this, again, I never met him, not even like when I would go to conventions with Tara. I've never seen him. I never met her. But I will say, I have seen him in some stuff, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I give this some credence only based totally on my own opinion. He may be coolest guy in the world, whatever. I thought, okay, for the types of scenes they were doing, which wasn't quite like the 90s extreme, it's supposed to be like nice scenes, and okay, that guy does seem like, I don't know, not quite angry sex. Maybe the director told him to do that, but this was just me of a couple things. And again, I don't want to paint too broad of a picture, but since you asked, I will freely give my opinion. Is that when I heard that name, I thought, oh yeah, in what was supposed to be like mild kind of scenarios, he seemed a little, maybe I was comparing him to another guy that used to be in some films with him, Mick Blue, who seems like a super nice, kind guy. And it just seemed so different to me. And again, I don't know them. I'm not trying to, but when this came up in the reports, I took it okay, this is probably has some truth to it. At least she felt that way. Now, to your, question or the way you looked at it, yeah, when we were looking at Extreme Associates and stuff like that in the 90s, it almost like this is what we expect and people going into it. Again, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I don't know if she went on there thinking, okay, this is what my generation, this is the way they do it, and it shouldn't be like that. I'll play devil's advocate here in a way, like maybe it was for what she expected. Also, to your point, yeah, I don't know that many today could quite do what some of you did back in the day, because it was different. It was marketed different. You kind of knew, I'm assuming you guys knew going on to set what the hell somebody, what some of those directors had in mind. So yeah, that's a weird one to be a fly on a wall, but I don't mean to sound vague. It's just I try to really look at it from every side. Okay, I'll play devil's advocate. Maybe she misunderstood, or the director was saying this, or maybe we're in a different time and they just weren't expecting what came out of that. I don't know. Do I think, if we're asking the deeper question, did that do it? Her brother might be right. He knows her better. The brother and husband know her better than anyone, I'm sure, beyond her parents. So they may have intimate insight into that. I think it probably was one of many things that attributed to this down the road. I do. I don't think it was, if everybody's wondering, was it the one thing? I don't believe so. And according to, I'm not trying to advertise for somebody else's podcast, but I really was. If you guys haven't seen this, John Ronson, he's been covered a lot, and he was pretty even keel in a lot of his work on this subject. And I have to say, I was kind of impressed with his findings. Were not too judgmental. It was more like, ultimately, with some caveats, there was a lot going on in this young woman's life. So we can't just point the finger at porn, point it at one guy. You can't point it at the husband. I think everything. So it may just go back to mental health. I don't know. I'm sorry. I just rambled on.
No, it's okay. I like it when you do that. But I agree. I think it has a lot to do with mental health. And I think, to John Jay's point, he did say something important before. All of us knew each other back then. Like, I wasn't friends with these people, obviously, but I knew the guys. I knew who worked which way, what way. I knew who the directors were. Rob Black wanted crazy, vile stuff.
Right.
Same thing with John T-Bone. Tom Byron liked whatever it was. You knew what it was. I don't know who this guy is, John Sherek. Zero ill intent. He's just been over aggressive in multiple scenes with multiple actresses. And with August, it threw her over the edge. Her manager was the same manager as my fiance at that time, too. Okay. So I don't see how a scene could just push you over the edge. I really don't. Unless you're like so fed up with the business that it's sort of the last thing you want to be a part of. And guys would always get carried away in scenes. And I don't ever remember complaining about anything. I remember just walking off sets and going to get my nails done or something more important. So I think a lot of it has to do with mental health. Now, she was married at the time.
Right, to a director. Yeah.
Did you hear anything about that, like what that relationship might have been like? Because that should have a lot to do with it, too.
Now, I think anybody who's familiar with this knows when he made a statement, he was rightfully but angered at the online onslaught that went after her for that comment. And at the time, at least, he had blamed largely on that. And just to go back to that, Ronson's multiple deep dives into it, I kind of think he's probably onto something, saying, yeah, but everybody was a part of this. Their relationship, like anybody's, wasn't perfect. So again, it probably goes back to what I know some people will gravitate towards. Oh, they're damaged, daddy issues, they go into this business. Okay, not everybody, but yes, there undeniably are going to be some that will substantiate that stereotype. And this, with all due respect, yes, she may have been one, because the reports, I mean, the more legit reports that I could find pretty much say she admitted she had bipolar and, not multi-personality. They don't call it that anymore, but basically split personality issues. You go into any industry that's going to be high pressure, popularity, fame to an extent, if you're unstable. But I say, look at regular Hollywood, the music industry. How many artists, actors, and comedians have we lost to suicide? That you would be like, why the hell did Robin Williams kill himself? Why did Chris Cornell kill himself? We're not there. We don't know, but you find out later, there's so many issues behind the scenes. Okay, just to make the loose connection. All right, so I deal a lot with cartel, mafia, borderline serial killer kind of thing, and a lot of them, yeah, there were some mental health issues obviously in there. You look at El Mano Negra. I mean, he'll even admit there was shit happened to him as a child that he didn't want to talk about, but that came out later. So you can't, I'm not trying to brush it off, like, because some people have horrible trauma and still end up not harming themselves or somebody else. It's just, in this case, I don't know that it was so much a conspiracy or one thing. I just think there were a lot of problems, and it didn't help that people are mean-spirited or didn't understand, or she didn't feel she could reach out. If there's any blame on the industry, from what I understand from people I know inside, it's not like they have a mental health worker on set. And I'm not saying they have to. I don't want to go so extreme. But at the same time, I'm not sure some people are cut out for the whole deal. To your point, that is not a reflection of anybody's character, except, yeah, some might try it, get the hell out quick. Others go the long haul, and they're not whining about it. And others try and find out it's too much, but it might be too late. I don't know how you police that. If that's what the world wants to know, I don't know. How would you do that?
I don't think you can, but this is a very cold version of me. I feel as though when you're doing adult things, making adult decisions in an adult situation like porn, Wall Street, or even writing books. Well, not even writing. Well, yeah. You should expect to make adult choices. So I don't think they necessarily go into the business with that mindset. Some girls just get into it for whatever reasons. And there's some girls that that just go with it, and they don't know how to stop. They don't know when to stop. They might have a really bad situation and they are afraid to speak up on it. So this John guy is saying they're months later after filming with Marcus, August took her life. Well, apparently this guy was rough quite a few times with people. John, I just want to make sure this guy is Caucasian and not African American, because I don't want to get labeled a racist or something. But he did what he did, regardless of skin color.
Yeah, I think he's actually. I think. I could be wrong. You guys can correct me in the comments. I think Marcus Dupree was actually German or something. He was a European.
Or something, right? Yeah, that's what Vic told me once. So that's what I just want to make sure that I'm not getting this thing wrong.
No losses. I do want to interject. I did want to ask you a question that's kind of ostensibly related.
Yes.
But your thoughts, and anybody watching, should it be upped from 18 to 21? Would that make a difference, or not really when it comes to maturity? I mean, men, I'll be the first to admit, I was way immature compared to people my age that were female. But even at that, as you say, Jasmin, this is a very adult, like literally that's the name of the business. You have to be mature. I don't know. I'm just curious what everybody's thoughts are on should at least the studios be like, look, be 21 before you get in. Tara and I had this talk once briefly, and she was like, yeah, they come in at 18. It's probably not a good idea generally. I don't know though. It does. Do you think it matters or not?
I don't really think it matters, but I agree with her. They should be 21 and over. 18 is way too young. But then again, there's strip clubs that are out there that hire 18-year-old children to strip in clubs. Usually the non-alcoholic ones, the nude bars.
Right.
I think they should be 21. Oh, here we go. Hellstrom. His real name is Alexei Yurevich Metny. Metny. So he's not even French like this one guy said. Thank God. There's no age it can be okay. It's about the mental health. But I say 21. And to agree with you, yes, they're 25-year-old men that are extremely immature for their.
Yeah.
For their
I mean,
age.
I was. I know I was. It's something though. I think in that business, and I don't know, Vic. You know, he would probably know if this is garbage or it would work. Is if community-wise people were more. I don't know if all the agents are on the up and up and keep tabs on what's happening on set. Maybe they do. Again, I'll play devil's advocate in defense of her. But at the same time, there is a part of me, quite honestly, that's like, okay, you probably shouldn't have been in the business. This is not that's what happens. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, yeah, there are going to be some of those. And is there even a way to police that without getting so culture war driven? Because I know what the point of this is, the tweets, and how some were coming out because we were, during that pre-COVID, COVID, and a little post-COVID, the pendulum had swung so far to the left that suddenly you're getting canceled, you can't say anything. Inevitably, the pendulum was going to swing the other way, and we have no middle ground, in my opinion, but none of it makes it okay to make somebody feel horrible, but yet we have the right to do that, and you have the right to not even respond or get the hell off Twitter or whatever. This is where, and yeah, some people might need extra help, and if you see somebody in need, you step in. I get that. It's just, I think our whole show is going to be a lot of rhetorical questions, and does anybody really have an answer? Because going back to what Ronson was saying, there's a ton of reasons why this probably happened, and none of them were overnight, but that didn't help. One thing I do want to clear up, and I don't know if somebody else in here might know this too. I had found this like recently. I didn't realize the cyanide tweet is horrible as that was. And I'll say this, and if that dude's watching, you're an asshole. But to say that was horrible, but devil's advocate again, that tweet didn't come out until after she actually went to kill herself. So we can't blame that particular tweet, but the onslaught before, I believe, well, I don't even think it's about believing it. I'm sure that did not help. Whatever situation was going on with this poor young lady, that didn't help. That she posted something just saying like, hey, yeah, I'm not doing this for the safety reasons. She didn't go into a big diatribe about it. But at that time, when the pendulum was swinging left, you were asking for trouble. And now, like, okay, if the pendulum's swinging to the right, you're going to be in trouble if you're saying something here. I think all of those things played into a mental health issue, which is the root of, I don't know, so many problems we have. But that's my thoughts. If I am wrong, everybody in the comments, please tell me, or I want to know. I want to know more of what everybody knows.
Someone's asking about Savannah here. You're asking me if she had a mental health issue. A lot of them have mental health issues. I mean, look what they're doing. And I'm not trying to be judgmental, right? But we all have mental health issues. It's just to what degree do you handle it? And you're speaking about Savannah. What I heard, just to go off the topic because someone is bringing her up, what I heard was she killed herself for one of two reasons. It was either A, because her face was so fucked up, but back then in the 90s, you had plastic surgeons who could fix that, right? Then someone else came up with a theory that she tested HIV positive. And who is it, Fauci, that was mishandling the AIDS crisis then? So it's one of the two, but regardless, whatever takes you there to dine on a bullet is what causes the suicide. Some things are just the icing on the cake. And I know that sounds horrible because it's not really a tasty cake, but that's what I think. And I think in the case of August Ames, at that point, there was a lot of cyberbullying going on. And I feel as though it depends how you're put out there in the world to deal with things like this. If you can't handle it, then don't have a public profile. I know that sounds really cruel, but don't do it then. Don't become a public figure. Like, example, to go off the topic for a second, the mayor of Santa Monica does not like getting attacked online. So take your fat, ugly face off of social media if you don't want to be attacked. Or better yet, do a good job as a mayor and people won't reach out to you or say things to you. But it all comes with the territory. I mean, the type of things people say to me all day, I ignore it. But again, you're talking about a generational difference. But the other issue we're dealing with is the relationship between her and her husband. So what was that like? That's what I'm curious to know. Because if you don't have a safe space at home or someone to speak with about things that are bothering you, or someone, you don't know if he was like a suitcase pimp pushing her to work over and over. You don't know these things. Like, that's the other piece of this puzzle. Did you hear anything about this?
Yeah, actually there isn't a lot except the husband's statements. Okay, it took a little bit and digging through that. That Ronson's again. To credit him, he made the point that among the things, their relationship was strained at points, and that is not a surprise because any relationship, for the most part, can get to that. In that industry, because of the outside forces more, I think, it's strained even if you marry within the industry. Like, some people swear it's better to marry outside, and then some say, no, that's horrible. I've heard it from people I personally know that taking it all in, like, oh, wait, which is better, which is worse? In that case, I don't think it's a stretch to say, all right, if he deduced this, and there haven't been many statements that I found, some of you may know more about this, from him. Now, I doubt he's going to come out and just say, oh, we had a shitty marriage or something. And maybe they didn't, but maybe they did. Again, it goes into, I think there were a lot of issues, and a perfect fairy tale marriage was definitely not the case. A disclaimer again, we're speculating, but there are people who have looked into it. And by the way, on that note, the speculation, I did find, because this is what I like to do, is digging through the needles. You find the tabloids versus, mainstream news or industry news. And you sift through and find each of them has some, I don't know, slivers of what could be true that another one doesn't. And I just stopped myself before I was ready to bash some of these tabloids, especially from Europe. You're like, what? And then you realize, oh, wait, though, in my job, I deal with the tabloids that used to be like in New York in the 30s, and these colorful stories they'd paint about gangsters. You're like, wow, this is like truly like a storybook. But then you realize, they embellished, made it more over the top, but yet they still had images and quotes that no other mainstream paper had. So even though there may be over the top stuff, there's information. The reason I mention this is the segue to the toxicology report. Now, again, Vic might know about the actual autopsy. I have not seen an actual autopsy or even any snippets beyond the asphyxiation that she died from, my curiosity was immediately, okay, what did the toxicology say? Not so that I could just blame drugs, but I know sometimes, a lot of times, when people are getting to that point that they're going to do it, they will also self-medicate just to make it easier. The tabloids, again, take this with a grain of salt, listed there was fentanyl, cocaine, or Xanax mixed in there. Now, first of all, some of the cocktails I've seen listed was like, I think you'd be dead before you could get out your house if you had all of this. How would that be possible? But if there were traces, if she was doing something, I think it's logical to say, yeah, she probably was self-medicating. I mean, a lot of people do anyway, and they're not necessarily suicidal, but that would also make it more I don't know, dare I say easier? If you're already going to go there, and I feel for anybody that's been there. I've been at some low points in my life. I can't honestly sit here and say, oh, I know what it's like I'm going to hang myself, or that has to be a horrible place to arrive at. So I don't know if you even need to self-medicate if you're that low. I don't know.
I think it helps when you think about places like Dignitas in Switzerland, these suicide clinics, they give you things prior to taking whatever the little concoction is to killing yourself. A toxicology report is always important, and it surprises me that was never released. Then next to that, you'll have the police report and everything else, which is interesting. Someone just texted me a little bit while ago asking about Sabu's toxicology report because he died. And,
right.
So I said, you should just send away for it and see what comes up in Sabu's toxicology report. Paul has a question for you. Christian, what's your biggest conspiracy theory about the porn or the adult business? And not the fact that it's run by mobsters, as we've already discussed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And Paul, okay, that is a great loaded question. No pun intended, either way, gangster or porn. The mob did actually have a lot to do with it behind the scenes, more than what sometimes you see in a movie, like they're shaking down, porn stars stuff. Yeah, maybe, but mostly it was in the distribution and the copying of tapes, and they were doing a lot of counterfeiting of bootlegging kind of thing. Conspiracy wise, though, oh wow, that's I would have to say it's the John Holmes thing. I really do, and I'm not picking that one out of a hat. That one involved is still to this day, and we've read the books, his ex-wife's words, the movies, everything. You're like, okay, did he go in and do some of that horrible damage? Did they force him to, or was he really kind of just stuck in the middle? I do believe there's an answer, but Paul, if you want to know, I think like a great conspiracy kind of thing. Oh, it's definitely that one for me that involves porn, because we still, I mean, somebody knows, but we still don't know. Okay, did he hit somebody with a pipe, or was it those other guys that had him kind of by the balls, for lack of a better term? I don't know. What do you think, Jasmine? I mean, that's a great story. Like, you can't make that shit up.
I think it's one of two things. I think that they had him by the balls, but I also feel maybe he did hit the guy with the pipe, but not enough to kill him. And sometimes these accidents happen. Going back to 2010 or 11, an ex of mine in a black metal band, who is like ex-keyboardist at that point of Dimmu Borgir, he got into a fist fight with another guy in a part of Norway called Akebrigga, and the guy fell and cracked his head and died.
So yeah, that can happen.
Accidental. I don't think John Holmes is the type of person that would do that. This guy's asking about Patty Hearst. Was she brainwashed? The thing is, with Patty Hearst, I went to school with Carlos Hearst. And, that was a very fucked up family. Like, he was trying to push acid on 12-year-old kids at school, 13-year-old kids. Fast forward to like 2000 something, I ran into him at a party somewhere, at someone's birthday party in Manhattan. The guy was still, whatever, for lack of a better term of POS. But that's what I think. But I do believe that 21 should be the age to get into adult films. And maybe, I don't know if it'll help a lot of these things. Like, if it would alleviate a lot of deaths, right? I don't know how many porn stars murders there have been. You and I discussed Linda Wong, and that's like another story another day. I think she's murdered. It's possible. But when you get the toxicology report, and I'm going to ask, I do want to know from Vic if there was a toxicology report ever pulled. Why hasn't anyone ever pulled her toxicology report?
I couldn't find, and granted, on short notice, I tried to look because there are some databases for people who are requesting FOIAs, Freedom of Information Act, in the subject. I didn't see anything under her real name, anyone pulling it, but I could have missed something. Again, it was I did quick, and usually I don't do that. I'll ADHD hyper focus. I'll be there for 6 hours. I didn't do that this time, and I could find nowhere where it was at. That said, any of you who live in California are familiar, this state pisses me off on a regular basis for how difficult they make it to get certain files, whereas some states like Florida, regardless of the dumpster fire it is in general, I love them for the fact that anytime I need a file from something that happened in Florida, they're like on a silver platter, what do you want? And out here, I have to know people, which fortunately I do. And to get, otherwise it's denial or put you on hold. You can send them FOIAs till you're blue in the face. So I'm curious if anybody has been able to get anything, because I am curious to see the actual autopsy, or at least what the redacted part is in the toxicology. I think it would be interesting. I don't know, not even to rule out a conspiracy with it, just like, okay, maybe this can teach somebody else. Look, if you're a little unstable and you get into this and you're medicating, if that's the case, it's probably not a good metaphorical cocktail to be taking. The industry can be rough. I know, look, I wasn't in it, but I was privy, thanks to you and Tara and a few other people, that I got to see some behind the scenes of what life is like. And I understand it is, as you put it, you got to be hard to handle that and come out okay. It just, that's the nature of it. Culturally, ethically, the moral, crusaders going against all that crap, your own family disowning, that kind of thing goes on for real. So I feel for it.
Yeah. It's crazy. And I do hope someone orders Sabu's toxicology report out there.
Yeah, I want to see that too. It was my just total random that he was my favorite wrestler of ECW. Like, that dude was.
I'm telling you, it was sad. So I have Vic here waiting with his headset on. I think everyone's wearing collared shirts today, so I don't feel like overdressed. Hi, Vic, how are you today?
Hey, Vic.
Good. How are you? How are you, Christian? I've been listening. Nice to meet a fellow author. And hello, Jasmin. How is your mental health going?
Thank you very much. Finally, you asked me the key question. Yes, my mental health is completely fine. How's yours?
Good. I'm great. I'm perfect ever since being out of the business for 5 years. So, so Christian, I do have a lot of insight here that's probably going to blow your mind. The first thing is, when I wrote my book, there is one section in there talking about it. 21 and older is definitely should be on the rule book of porn, because at 18, you don't know shit. At 21, you don't know shit. You may know a little bit more. I always say, if you want to start on your own platform at 18, and then maybe go, if you like it, if it's for you, then maybe graduate to studio porn at 21. But I don't think the industry wants to allow that, because 18 is a hell of a lot more enticing for their product than 21 is. There's the other aspect too that you brought up, which is there is no checklist on whether or not someone should be in the industry. I will tell you, there are a lot of people I was like, we shouldn't be shooting this person. They are not mentally there. And August would be one of them for sure, because here's the thing, and I don't know if you know this. I never saw her toxicology report, nor do I know anything about it. I've got inside information about her relationship at home, but I also have information, like, did it come across your research that she tried to kill herself like 7 months prior and was unsuccessful?
No, but I was curious. I'm glad you brought that up, Vic, because doing basic math in your head, if this has been going on since a childhood, I wonder if there were previous attempts that HIPAA doesn't tell us about or she never spoke about.
So this is what I'll bring you to the beginning of when I met August, when she was 18 years old, probably around 2012. And this guy, Kevin Moore, a director for Evil Angel, essentially sunk his claws into her. She needed a green card because she was Canadian. I don't want to say that it wasn't a real relationship, because I do believe at a certain point in time, she had feelings for him and spoke highly of him. However, I think that waned over time. Now, with August shooting her, I mean, she was always great, a pleasure, easy. Like when she came on set, when she first got there, pimply, kind of unsure of herself, naturally great boobs, just good all around energy. And sometimes when she would come on set, she would be, playful, whatever. Sometimes she would just be all business. What happened? Okay. So, I got that vibe, but anytime I shot her, which probably would have been a dozen times before me and her got closer in the last 7 months of her life, did she ever really open up? It was always work, and we're going to work and everything's cool. We had great scenes. It was always just great scenes. Now, my history with the company was 16 years. I went through 3 different ownerships with, first it was Mansef, then it was Manwin, then it became MindGeek.
Okay, yeah.
And the scene in question with Marcus Dupree, I was the director, and John Ronson, he interviewed me for that. And I have a feeling he wanted to fit a certain narrative instead of being completely having a lot of journalistic integrity. I think he wanted to kind of have a certain viewpoint on everything.
Sadly,
because
that's everybody's got an agenda, even the ones that seem sort of centrist. But yeah, sorry, I just, yeah.
No. I don't want to blather too much either, but I do have a lot of information to get out of here in a short amount of time. But here's the thing. Marcus Dupree was Russian, okay? And one of the most intense performers I ever shot was a woman named Veronica Avlov. I mean, this girl was doing like double and triple anal in Europe. So she came to me because I had Marcus on my schedule, and she said, Marcus wanted me to talk to you because his English is not that great. And he just wanted to be sure because he can be misinterpreted in a lot of ways. And he wants to be sure that you understand where he's coming from. And if he's moving me around a certain way, I'm putting my legs a certain way, usually you get ripples right here, and it's unsightly for a female performer. So when he's doing that, it's not to make himself look good or make him feel comfortable. It's to make her look good. Ooh. And so when I learned that, and the other thing too with Marcus is like, when he came into my office, he was very quiet and very like passive. And I said, hey, Marcus, how are you? Come on in and let's sit down. And with the Russian culture, not only are they very direct and very blunt, okay, but respect is very big with them. So when I was talking to him and making him feel at ease, that meant all the world to him. So me and him hit it off like that. Would we have if Veronica didn't tell me about him ahead of time? Probably not. I may have thought he was an asshole. So I think the thing with Marcus Dupree is he was very misunderstood. Now, I learned early on that it was very important to pair him with talent, female talent that either liked him or loved him. And we found out with the August situation and maybe another one after that if it was ever a question of like shakiness, don't do it. Don't do it. And sometimes the office would try to shoehorn a female talent with Marcus because he was such a great performer. And when I'm telling you 20 years of experience, I will tell you the best male performer I ever shot, hands down, no question. So when you go into the whole aggression thing, especially with me as a director, when I want to be sure everyone's comfortable, I want people to come back, I want everyone to have a good time. The scene in question that was the scene, Brazzers never released it because Kevin Moore called them the day after screaming in a rage because he saw these bruises, right? And so as a gesture of goodwill and to not rock the boat, they never released it. Now, I could sit there and watch the scene, and I have, to see if I missed anything. Because when we're shooting, you're hearing no, stop, cut. If you don't hear those, you think everything's hunky-dory, everything's cool, right? She didn't say any of those things at all. So would I, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the most vanilla porn you ever saw, 10 being like anabolic, like hardcore triple anal, 5, maybe. Okay, and this is just my perspective. So yeah, there was a lot of people trying to fit a narrative. Was it Jessica Drake? Was it cyberbullying? Was it Marcus Dupree? You know what I think it was? I think you nailed it. It was mental illness. You said that she was diagnosed as bipolar, maybe different personalities. That would actually hold true because her account to me in text, which I still have, versus her account to someone else were vastly different. So which one is it? Now, I'll kind of blow this into a bigger perspective, and if you need to interject, please let me know. But
wait a second, you're saying bipolar. All women are bipolar. No.
Yeah.
Lighten it up, guys. But I agree, like there are people that have this double thing going on where to one person, maybe there was shame attached to that where she didn't want someone to know, hey, this is how it really is. But it was really like this, who she said it to someone else. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, well, there was something going on towards the latter part of my career, which was making me feel uncomfortable. And by the way, hi, Paul. I want to say hello to you. With the younger generation, I'd say those born after 1996, the ones that were raised on iPads and social media and iPhones, and they weren't talking. They weren't like Jasmin, because I wish they were all like Jasmin because they would speak up, you know? But they didn't. What they would do is not say anything, and you would assume everything's fine. Because again, we were trained in compliance. No, stop, cut. And if she said any of these things, I would have known there was a problem. And literally 2 weeks before that scene, I shot her with Johnny Sins outside at a pool. And at one point, she got thirsty. So she said, cut, I need a break, I'm thirsty. So she had this ability to do it, and she certainly had this ability to do it with me. Why she didn't do it that day with Marcus? I mean, some of her quotes were, I just wanted to get it over with. Okay, I guess that's something, but doesn't make me feel any better. I just wanted to be sure that she was comfortable. And had I known the inner turmoil that was going down, I would have looked at it a little bit differently. But you only act on what you're hearing and seeing. So in that perspective, I was just like, yeah, I don't really know. But one more thing I'll tell you is that we were always all business until 7 months before she killed herself. And we were on a digital playground feature that I was shooting with her. And the first time she ever really opened herself up personally was on that shoot. And I was like, that's interesting. And she said something that was flirty, that was indicative that she wanted to get to know me on a personal level, which had never happened in the 6 years prior. So I was like, oh, okay. And I go, well, wait a minute. Aren't you like married to Kevin? She goes, yeah, but I'm not going to be married forever, was her exact quote. And I'm like, okay, so you just like completely opened the door for me. And I said, well, look, let's just, stay in touch and see where this goes. Because I was never, let's go into the back room and let's go. That's not my style. I'm more of a long ball, respectful kind of person. And I would never do that because I think that's stereotypical porn sleaze.
Yeah.
So I had her on the books maybe a couple weeks later, and then she cancels, or her agent cancels. And I pressed a little bit. I was like, what's going on? She's like, oh, she's having some kind of medical episode. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Cut to about a month later when she's back to shooting again. Now, this is when we first having our intimate relationship, and I've talked about this in my book.
Whoa,
And
stop.
yes,
Whoa,
yes,
sorry. You're saying intimate relationship. Were you having intimate relations with her, or just?
yes, yes.
Oh.
Yes. And it got back to me later on. I wasn't the only one. There was another producer who told me this. Like, this is all this during this time frame. Now, when we decided to be intimate, and I gave her, like, I picked her up at the airport, dropped her at her hotel, and I said, okay. She's like, I really want you to come up with me, but I cheated on Kevin once, and I don't want him to find out I'm really paranoid. I said, look, I don't want to have any kind of weird drama. It's really up to you. And she goes, okay, fuck it, come upstairs, but you have to turn your phone off. And I was like, odd. Maybe I shouldn't do this, but it was August and she was fucking smoking and beautiful in every sort of way. So the man side of me said, yeah, let's do this. And that was the first of, I'd say, three or four times where sometimes literally she would plan on coming in for a shoot, but hanging out with me for 2 days before that. Okay. And when something like that happens, a lot is revealed and a lot of boundaries or guards are let down. And she told me a lot of things, mainly how isolated she was at home, where, you know, Kevin wasn't having sex with her. Now, mind you, I have a lot of this in text message still. A lot of it is what she told me. So I'm just recapping what I've said. Or what she told me, and I'm just repeating it. He would sit in his room. They had 2 separate rooms in this apartment. And he would play video games with the cat on his lap, completely neglecting her. Now, mind you, a month after or a couple weeks after she kind of opened up to me, she tried to kill herself. Now, she told me this when we were in the hotel room, and she said, yeah, I'm on happy pills now, because I tried to off myself. These were her exact words. And I said, well, are you okay now? She's like, yeah, I'm going to a therapist and I'm on the pills. So I think everything is going to be okay. So let's now look at this whole thing in a different perspective. She's already tried to kill herself. She's on medication. She's in therapy. So the rest of it, as far as I'm concerned, is noise, is excuses that people want to make to justify something tragic that happened to her that she did. But I will tell you, when this other producer who was also in Vegas told me that they were together, it kind of became crystal clear for me, which is she knew what her final destination was. She didn't know when, she didn't know where, she didn't know how. So she was going to have as much fucking fun as she wanted to before she left this rock. That is my take on this. And all of this stuff, the Jessica Drake, the cyberbullying, all of these things, that was just like, okay, I'm done. I'm out. This is going to be my reason for doing it. But let's not mistake the fact that she was dealing with mental illness and bipolar and everything else. So in that regard, I hope that kind of clears a couple things up for you, because I did have literally a perspective that a lot of people didn't during that time.
It makes sense. And let's not forget married life too. Married life sometimes, miserable married life, makes you want to blow your brains out. And the example with my ex, obviously. But it's a shame. And now that you brought this up, and I had no idea you guys were hooking up. I mean, I'm not surprised, but it's just okay. So yeah. Anyway, moving right along. I think what you're saying is true, but I do get the whole isolation. And I said this earlier, you're already in a subculture and you have to have people around you that are close to you who actually understand the business that we're in, because that's not a pretty business.
It
And
sounds to me like she's been isolated her entire life too. From what I mean, again, I'm not a trained psychologist, but dealing with some of the people I do, it's a lot of same story. If you're abused or neglected as a kid, you feel isolated, abandoned, whatever. This seems like her whole life was leading sadly to a moment that how do you intervene in that? Again, and for the people pointing their finger at this, and this, how do you police an entire industry when we all have some? I could go to work at the phone company and have a meltdown. Like, how do you know? So I think we like to blame, to what Vic said. I'll just expand. We all want to point a finger because we so desperately want something to be like, explain this. Why did something horrible happen? Blame that. And it's not that easy. 3 sides to every story.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. I could tell you some of the narrative that happened after that, Marcus, the pre-shoot was a little bit incorrect as well. I was texting her for literally up until mid-November because I was going to have another shoot with her that she accepted and then canceled. And when I asked her, I was like, what's going on? Are you okay? I didn't get a response back. There was other things she said too, like she deleted all of her texts except from her mother and her agent. So she didn't have any, And I think this had to do with her marriage. And according to what she told me was that she was planning on divorcing him probably after the start of the year. So this was late 2017, beginning of 2018. So yeah, there was trouble in paradise for sure. I'd sometimes text her, what are you up to? How are you? Always checking to see how she was doing. Because when someone tells you they tried to off themselves and they were on happy pills, you should check in every now and again. And she's like, oh, I'm just going tanning, or I'm going to get, laser hair removal, or I'm going to the movies by myself. And I go, hey, I go to the movies by myself all the time. Like that's not a bad thing. I mean, it's an activity, but it seemed like when we were around each other, she was happy. And I hold on to that the time around her, even though it was maybe 48 hours at a time, she genuinely was joyous. And it was a break from, I guess, the shit that she was dealing with. So in some ways, I'm grateful that I was able to give that to her. It sucks that it happened. So what happened was I was shooting this massive scene. It was like a part 4 of a 4-part series. It was in a mansion, 3 or 4 girls, 1 guy. And we were getting the day started when I was told by my supervisor of what had happened, because he knew that we were kind of close. I mean, I don't think he knew the details of how close, and I didn't really reveal that until I released the book. But I was like, shit. I mean, obviously this sucks, because in some ways I was like, wow, I'm saddened, not surprised given the history of it all. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, what do I do about this like $10,000 shoot that's happening that might very well unravel? You've got all of this going on because it's only a matter of time before this comes out in social media, and all of it just unraveled. But we did get the day done. That was the thing. Everyone kind of put their sadness aside, myself included, and we got this day done. But that's how I found out. And the thing that was kind of crazy afterwards was we know that she hung herself in a park.
Right.
The husband had the memorial service in the park that she killed herself in.
Okay, I've seen some crazy stuff when it comes to this kind of thing, but yeah, that's kind of uncomfortable. I don't know why that strikes me as, I don't think I would do that.
Me neither.
But
no.
I would not. Oh yeah, speaking of that,
Sorry, no, like, how old was the husband? You're talking about a grown.
He's my age. He's 50. He's 52.
So
yeah,
he's 40-something
he's in his
playing
50s.
video games with cats.
Yeah, he was, and neglecting his 22-year-old girlfriend or wife. Yeah.
No, the video game thing there. If they want to talk about they get sucked into. I have cats, but I don't really play video games. So, but yeah. Again, not knowing them personally, when you see what you see, there's some slivers of what we're not being told. And I knew the marriage had to have had problems. Almost every marriage, does at some point. But I think, like, you met her and she would have moments, like all of us, even in her worst. You have moments with certain people you feel you can open up to, I guess, and share some stuff, which, thanks, by the way, Vic, for telling us this.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad because we all want to point the finger. Even like Marcus Dupree, I don't want to throw this guy under, but I'm reading this and I'm like, okay, I've seen him in a couple scenes. Yeah, he's different. He's European. I don't know. I never met him. I shouldn't say anything. And you find out, wait, there's 3 sides to every story. It's right.
Yep.
It may have been, and we're ready to throw everybody under the bus the minute you hear something.
Yep.
To you, Jasmin, I'll just say this about the social media. Yeah, people are fucking mean, and they were. That's not like contribute. Yeah, she probably had a last reason to be. Yeah, fuck, well, you know, like her note was pretty much a fuck you. But as Vic said, this had been going on for probably longer than anyone knew her, except her own family. This had been going on, at least from what I read or assumed.
Yeah. I mean, she told me a few other things, because I remember we watched the whole first season of Big Mouth while like we were hanging out one weekend, and then I mean, she painted somewhat of a picture about her, like, okay, she got her first period when she was like on a school field trip that happened to her. She had a speech impediment that she was like growing up, like, and she had sex with one of her teachers, she told me. So like she was telling me a lot of things, and I was like, all right. But she was like adorably goofy. Like when she would laugh, she would snort, you know, like that, like kind of deal. And it was very cute and endearing. But, you know, looking back at the whole thing, she was alone. She was isolated, and she was dealing with a lot of things in a fucked up business that has no checks and balances, that doesn't have people looking after them. You know, here's the thing, and this is what I've been calling out the industry for the last couple of years. And I mean, I'm glad I'm done with it, because it was just getting more and more crazy. And with all the drugs that I was doing just to stay normal and deal with the darkness, I'm lucky to be here. But the industry does the same fucking thing every time someone dies. This is it. Okay, you get a report, she dies. Get a couple sound bites from a couple studios. They talk glowingly about her. A couple people share their stories about like their fun experiences, making it all about them. They're not talking about the pain that the person was in, nor are they talking about how do we help this and prevent it from happening to other people. Like, I'll tell you, I'm out of the industry. I'm very balanced. I am very mentally healthy at this point in time. She's laughing, but it is true. But here's the thing. Let's just say I was isolated. Not many people are reaching out from the business. They're not. Okay, I have a couple people who check on me every now and again, but for the most part, well, man, I'm like yesterday's news when it comes to the porn industry. And if you leave the industry or you're not in it anymore, yeah, you become forgotten. Now, if you have someone who's dealing with that, like someone mentioned Cagney Lynn Carter, she basically took a shotgun to her head and ended it. And yeah, it was the same routine. Happened again with Kylie Page, who overdosed on fentanyl accidentally, 3-4 months ago. Same thing, same routine over and over and over again, but they're doing fuck all about trying to have some kind of support system for people who are in it. And that's where I'm like, more bullshit. It just happens every single time.
Well, hold on a second. Like, I don't know if anyone's ever watched that series, and I'm not promoting it in any way, shape, or form, Life After Porn, okay? It just looks like a fucking train wreck. Like, that, to me, is what it really is. Then you have people romanticizing it. In modern day with these OnlyFans girls. Oh my God, I'm making $1 million fucking dollars a year. Yeah, well, I hope that you, I hope you're paying your taxes on it. Seriously. It's just,
and I'll say this.
Weird, so double-edged sword. Yeah.
It's and again, this is just from knowing some of you, and I'm very grateful for that. I got some insight that most don't. But I would never pretend that I knew every nuance. But what I will say as the outsider looking, Instagram reels, whatever, like, okay, it's like hitting the lottery. Yeah, one or two going to make $1 gazillion from it, become the face for 5-10 years. That's probably, really reaching. But most are not. And okay, that's the nature of the business, but nobody wants to talk about it. Like you guys were saying, it almost glosses it over. Like, just come on in, and here you have a new account, and you can then jump to this and be not. I think people who even are famous are capitalizing on. You can do it too. That's where I like. No, it's not. You can join me to be like that. It's hitting the lottery that a couple maintain that level, or Vic, the ones that are the big thing right now. There's a handful that truly 6-7 figures. Into what Jasmin was saying, okay, they lucked out. Would they be that hard if they were making the minimum and trying to get by every day on a set? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't even know if their numbers are right. I think they just say it as a way to get more girls to sign in. And John brought up a very good point. He said Life After Porn on Netflix was made to, here it is. It was made to make anyone who did adult films look bad. Yeah, actually it did. They interviewed me for it, but I wasn't a train wreck, so it didn't really work out very well. And I'm glad I wasn't on that.
Some of them they did try to make that did look really bad on some. I mean, think Tara's didn't, but some of them it was like, oh, this poor, and maybe that's true, but it's why do we have to paint it one way or the other? It's like any business. There's good, bad, and ugly, I guess.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, that's why I wrote the book, and that's why a lot of people in the industry don't want to talk to me anymore, because I wrote a very honest book. It's okay. Yeah.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
It's on.
I already checked it out.
Yeah. If you like audiobooks, the audiobook I narrated as well, and that's a whole nother trip onto itself. I tell people, if you don't have time to read, or if you don't like reading, do the audiobook, but they're both worth your time because they're very brutally honest. And yeah, a lot of people in the industry don't want to promote me or help me, but I didn't write the book for them. I didn't write the book for the industry. I wrote it for everyone outside the industry that's curious about it and wants a real perspective that doesn't paint it as this glamorous thing. It's more of a cautionary tale. Like, here's the reality of it. I talk about the people who died, especially one is August. Yeah. But the thing is, it's like, this is the real. It's dirty. I mean, the reason why the book's called Filthy, because it's a filthy business. Now, was it always bad? No. It snowballed worse and worse as time went on. The company I started with was not the company I finished with. They are dealing with their own problems now, which I think is good. And I think they probably are on the cusp of being broken up. The monopoly is going to be broken up, which I think is going to be good for the industry because they do have too much control. They don't like me very much because it wasn't a good parting despite 16 years of dedicated service and making them a fuck ton of money. It just didn't end well. And so they just tried to make things a little bit difficult for me when it was all over, but that's on brand for them. It's like, I guess the way I could describe it is they view it as everyone as replaceable. Now, if that's your mentality, are we shocked that people are killing themselves at all? When you're looking at the next person up, if that's the mentality. So no, I mean, when I realized when it was all over and they didn't have me sign an NDA, and I had been keeping a journal and meticulous notes about it all, it was like, well, do we want to just go scorched earth? And so I did. And people enjoy it because of the honesty and because I don't pull my punches. I'm very straightforward and very transparent, and it's a human story, and I don't try to make myself look better. I just want to be honest with everyone and everything.
Now, Vic, I appreciate you coming on and giving us
yeah,
that.
Thanks for coming in. Seriously,
for sure.
That really opens up a lot of. It just really opens up a whole other set of questions, but it's answered a lot of questions, and it's obviously it was from home, from when she was young,
yep,
to the current day when she was still doing married life and whatever happened with that. So I'm just still trying to wrap my head around a guy in his late 30s, early 40s playing video games with cats in the living room when you have a hot 20-something-year-old wife in the other room. And I can't seem to wrap my head around this. So maybe someone else could do that one day. Could you just tell us the book?
Sorry, no, I don't know Kevin Moore. All I could tell you is I heard things about him. But one thing that came back that was kind of annoying, and I think it had to do with a certain big male bald performer that does a lot of trans talking shit about me. But there was one performer I was shooting who really liked shooting me, thought very highly of me, went to shoot for Kevin Moore, whom I never met in my entire life, and said, oh yeah, I was shooting for Vic in Vegas. His response was, oh, that guy's a fucking asshole. I'm like, yo, bro, what did I do to you? Like, I did nothing. This was years before I was having sex with his wife. So if people want to like kind of judge me for, oh, you're having sex with a married woman / porn star, well, that kind of made the decision to do it a little bit easier, because it was like you're calling me an asshole. You never met me. And apparently he cheated on her as well, which is why she was cheating on him. I mean, look, we're getting into like, some gossipy, juicy shit here, but this was the real picture of what was going down. And I guess I'm fortunate and unfortunate to have been so close to it to know these things and these details of it all.
It goes to show, it confirms, and I don't care what industry it is or even families, you might not recognize you were close to this and didn't. I mean, later things hit like, oh shit, maybe, and then I feel bad because probably everybody felt guilty too, like, oh shit, shouldn't I have picked that up, like that red flag? But you don't. It's not that easy either. Like, you can't just say, oh well, somebody should have known.
Right.
Obviously, it isn't that easy when somebody takes a rifle and goes up on. Well, maybe people didn't
Yep.
know. I'm
Yeah.
sure there are a lot of signs for stuff that we ignore. But to again, devil's advocate, I don't know. Maybe the guy next door to you is losing his mind. He comes out and says hello every day. You don't know. I feel that you knew her intimately, and it wasn't enough to make you go, oh shit, I better, have her put away or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, look, I guess the bottom line is yes, 21 and over, and the industry really does need some kind of psychological support, widespread. But I've been screaming about it. I don't think they'll want to do better. They just kind of like to keep the meat grinder going, essentially.
Yeah, it definitely kicks you out. It's throws you out, just like wrestling. When it's done with you, it's done with you.
Yeah, another industry. Oh, another topic for yeah.
Other day, yes. When we
I can assure you, the mafia does the same thing, or they did. Get him. Yep, we'll just fill those boots. Yeah, so it's everywhere. Sadly.
Yeah.
So, Vic, could you give us the name of your book and where people could buy it, pretty please?
Yeah, Filthy, The Rise and Pending Death of Vic Legina. All right. And go to my website, viclegina.com. You can see the trailer for the book. I will tell people, if you listen to the audiobook, do Spotify, because Audible censored it in areas, and that's no fun. Or if you want the print version or the Kindle version, just go on Amazon and search Filthy Vic Legina. It will come up.
I like that, Filthy. Well, thanks for joining us. And
of course.
Let's touch base this week. And thanks for your input. That was very helpful.
Of course, it was great meeting you, Christian. And
you, Vic. Thank you.
Yeah, Jasmin, you keep smiling and keep that good headspace going. All right.
All right. Everybody who checked it out and your questions. Thank you,
Christian. There you are. So that was interesting. I think he covered a lot. I know that we're covering another death that's not a suicide next week. So, and eventually I would like to cover the whole Sabu death, because that was really sad and mysterious. There's so many things you hear, and they're both ugly businesses. And a
lot of similarities. I'm not trying to make something where there isn't, but there is a lot of parallels in a lot of this stuff, which is probably why I was drawn to it all. I don't know, because I like the weird things, but there are dark sides, and you knew Sabu, so I'm really interested, and he was literally my favorite wrestler. So
yeah, I mean, when they do these things like Dark Side of the Ring, Dark Side of the 90s, I don't see the 90s as ever being a dark side or a dark era of adult films. The dark era of adult films was when the internet hit and really took over, and people started OnlyFans. And I don't ever recall people growing up having all these crazy mental disorders, all these panic attacks. As nowadays, it almost seems like a trend and a badge of honor to have mental issues and to be on medications. And I'm not knocking anyone that is, but it just seems like it's some kind of, it's like a badge of honor of some type.
It has become, to your point, I'll end with this. I think it is definitely a newer phenomenon I think the phenomenon has always been there. It just wasn't as recognizable. And I do think cultural and generational changes have either brought out more, or we recognize it so much that it's like, okay, well, everybody has something, or hey, I don't know, maybe we all just ignored it for 100 years until now, and it's just coming out like crazy. I don't know the answer, but I think it, just like our last topic, don't mind my animals, they're fighting
All right.
in the room. I think it's a combination of a lot of things, and what we decide to cling on to now, like, oh, everybody's triggered, everybody's scarred today, and then tomorrow it's like, well, why doesn't everybody toughen up? And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but yeah, it did seem like in the 90s, I think, I'm just going to say this, we're Generation X. Yeah, we walked to school uphill 2 ways in the fucking snow with a Marlboro that we stole from the pack we bought for grandma. Okay. That's how we were. So yeah, we had mental issues, but here we are. So, all right. That's just my
And
little...
we fucked up the next generation somehow. I think trauma is the word that's overused like all the time. The second I hear the word trauma, I like my ears just go deaf. And yeah, the second I
Look, there's substances. Some people don't get it dealt with, and some people can deal with it better. I think there's room to fit, everybody to fit and fix who needs fixed, and but yeah, we've all experienced some kind of PTSD from something. I mean, thank God, not to go on that big thing, but I'm like, I never thought I had trauma because I wasn't abused. My parents didn't beat me a lot. I mean, I wasn't bullied any more than anybody else, those things. But I did realize at 5 years old, my first memory is watching my father accidentally shoot his finger off.
Jesus fucking
And so you realize the most colorful imagery I have at that age. Now, he was fine and they were able to put it back on, but I was 8 feet from him on the floor while he was cleaning a little broken pistol, and it went off. But that was traumatic to a 5-year-old, hearing that scream and him. But anyway, however, you got to deal with it. However you deal with it. It just, I think we do lean on it too much. I'll agree with you there. But I think probably that's the pendulum swinging because we didn't deal with anything in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know.
Loaded. It's a very loaded definition.
Yeah.
Or loaded definitions, I should think what it is. So I will see you next week. But in the meantime, could you please give us your socials? I know it's Gangland Legend. If you could tell everyone where to get your books and what books you do have out right now.
Yes, thank you. Again, everybody, thank you. Jasmine, thank you. Gangland Legend is pretty much the handle I use everywhere. My website, I've been getting bitched at a lot because I took it down a couple years ago to redo the whole thing, and I haven't redone it. But you can find me on social media, Amazon. If you want to look up my books, I have a few on there, plus a graphic novel. If you have Amazon Prime or Tubi, please go watch Dope Men, America's First Drug Cartel. That's the documentary Seth Ferranti and I made, and a lot of our friends are in it. And keep your eyes peeled. Yet again, I'll say it. The El Mano Negra memoirs will be coming. It's taking years, but I know. I spoke to him recently. I'll tell you about that later. But anyway, so yeah, please reach out to me if you have any complaints or nice things to say. Please do. Always there. So yeah.
Yeah, and tell him to put me back on his email list. I miss him calling me Barbie.
He gets
I'll
very...
send him Christmas cards. I'll send him photos, like whatever.
He gets temperamental. He does that. I think he gets mad and then he's all right. Hey, but when you're in prison for life, you have a lot of time to think about things and you get angry. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, I hope everybody's excited when that book does come out. It's going to be killer, for lack of a better term. So.
Yes.
This was years of work. We know that. But I'm done talking about me now. Thank you for having me on. And thanks to Vic. That was really great insight.
And I'll see you next week for the next porn star death that we do.
Yeah, we're going to have some good stuff.
Yep. Have a blessed night, Kristen.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. And everyone else who tuned in, thank you very much for following my page and watching the show. Make sure you definitely are keeping up on all of my projects. I guess follow me on Twitter or X. Follow me on Instagram. Most of all, subscribe to my podcasts on iTunes, Spotify, and of course, make sure to stay posted for next week's porn star death. I'm not sure if it's Savannah or Jesse Jane that we're covering, but you guys can get reminded by just subscribing. In any case, be kind to one another. Thank you for the input. And most importantly, stay frosty.